Look how good Hindustan is. अरे जय हिंद, हमारी टीम तो फ्लैट ट्रैक में भी जीत सकती है, टर्निंग में भी. Of Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad. The next Test match, they both got to play. This is a must-win game for England, and this could be their chance where they can win it through some amazing seam bowling. It's the first time they're playing at this ground, and I don't think there'll be a blade of grass on that wicket. I think it's going to be another turner. They need to. He's going to, Virat Kohli and thing. They're going to play to their strengths. I think I just tend to follow MS Dhoni, to be honest. Whichever team MS Dhoni is, I think that's the team I follow. So, or Harbhajan as well, because he's an off spinner. He's got a buttercup like me. Don't you worry about that. I will be the first one to tell the groundsman, make sure you don't cut the grass. I'll tell him from a May, you're not cutting the grass on this wicket. And when India turn up, they need to see that. Are we playing on an outfield? Absolutely.
I check it like you Red Singh bowling it, yeah? I really don't mind.
You hit me once, I hit you back.
He's bowling like my Auntie Annie when she'd had too much sherry to drink.
Played over my head, then I set fire.
मैंने कहा बेटा बेटा होता है और बाप बाप होता है.
Hello and welcome to Pie Checkers Cricket Podcast. This is Vivek and joining me are Sai and Sumay this time. And as always, before we begin, thank you to all those who have been liking, sharing, subscribing and commenting on our content. And to those who have not, we would request you to please do it. It keeps us going. So in this episode, we are going to do a mid-series review and look at what could be in store for us in the coming 2 test matches. And to do all of this, we feel extremely lucky to have someone who played a pivotal role in England winning last time in 2012. In fact, he, along with Graham Swan, outbowled the Indian spinners, which included man of the match in last test, R. Ashwin, the man, the legend himself, Monty Panesar. Welcome to Pie Checkers Cricket Podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on your show, and I'm really honoured to be on this show.
And before we do the mid-series review, what are some of your lasting memories, apart from, of course, beating India, of that 2012 tour?
Yeah, I think in particular was the ball. The SG ball was so different from 2006 and even 2008. It felt very much like a Duke's ball in my hand, and I think that plays a huge role. If you get the right ball and you get a good bunch of balls and the seam stays tacked for a long time, I think you can really sort of get the ball to spin and turn. But if that seam sort of erodes really quickly or gets soft and the ball gets really soft, it's just, you might as well just watch the Indian batsman get 100, and wait for the second new ball, because it's just so difficult to get batsmen out on Indian pitches when the ball gets soft.
Yeah, talking about pitches, there was a lot of discussion regarding the toss. Some people said that the toss was decisive in the second test match. There was another thought that probably it was decisive in the first test match. How do you see it? Was the toss really that decisive in India winning the second test match?
Well, I think some people are saying, is this a 4-match test series or is it a 4-toss series? Whoever wins the toss wins actually the test match, So from that point of view, I think in Chennai, the toss plays a huge role. But the second test match, they obviously, India, when they're under pressure, they go back to just producing spinning tracks because they know they play better than the other team. So they obviously won. They took a huge gamble. They won the toss. And I thought the test match was won in that second session on the first day when Rohit Sharma, played beautifully. And, India should have probably been bowled out for under 250. But, they just got that extra 120 runs. And I thought that was it. India was going to win this game because of that magical innings from Rohit Sharma. Going forward, is it good? I suppose every team will say, well, we need to win a game, right? To get back like 2-0 on a flat pitch and just to say, oh, we wanted to play 5-day test cricket, but India lose every game. I don't think that's good for the Indian fans. So I understand from India's point of view, we're back in the series now. Now, going forward, what do you think? Do you think this India team can win games on flat pitches, or do you think this India team can only win on spinning tracks?
I mean, it's a good question. We've seen that we can contend on flat tracks in the past. I think this was just a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, given that the first 3 days it was a very placid track in the first test, And I think even the curator wouldn't have wanted that kind of track. It's not that it needs to break down from the first day, but there needs to be some balance in bat and ball. Otherwise, there's a substantial benefit to the guy batting first. And just to follow up on your point about when England lost that test or when India won that test on the first day, you said, what really stood out to me was the difference in the quality of the spin bowlers across the two sides. If you were to ask me, I'd say that the Indians succeeded in exerting consistent pressure, their spin bowlers, and they were able to contain runs as well. Whereas when the English spin bowlers were out there, there's clearly quite a few freebies which were on offer. There were plenty of full tosses which they were able to put away, and as a result, the Indians were able to form those partnerships which helped define their innings, and they're able to put up 250 plus in both the innings. Do you think that the big difference between these two teams and where England lost it is really the quality or consistency of their spin bowling?
Look, I think what it is, India know that if we produce a spinning track, firstly, England consistency isn't that, they're not consistent with their line and lengths, right? And on a spinning track, your consistency has to be, the key to keep control. And then the other issue is, when the ball turns off straight, let's say, on the first day, India know how to play that spin better. Like if the Indian bats were facing their own bowlers, I'm sure they will find it difficult as well. It's only because when Indian batsman or Virat Kohli goes, oh, we applied ourselves better. Yeah, you applied yourself better because the English spinners were bowling full tosses, and then they're bowling a short ball, and then they weren't bowling as many balls in that right area. What the interesting scenario would be if Ashwin and Axar Patel were actually bowling to the Indian batsman in the opposition. How would they apply themselves then? Then I would say, yeah, to Virat Kohli, yeah, I fully understand you applied yourself. They didn't really apply themselves. They just waited for the bad ball, and they waited for the full toss. They waited for the short one. That released pressure. Now, India know that if we keep doing spinning tracks, they're going to win the series, right? Mm-hmm. Because they just played these conditions better. But the question is, do you as cricket fans want to see a 3-day test match or a 5-day test match?
I think that's an interesting point. The one point of if in your own experience, is it possible for you to draw a few comparisons to the bowling we saw here today? Obviously, you and Graham Swan were part of perhaps the most successful spin bowling duo in India amongst the most recent touring sides. So, do you think that that if you were out there, how would you have bowled differently on this kind of track? And do you think Leach could have done something different? Because he wasn't too bad. It's just that he didn't get the kind of rewards that the Indians did.
Yeah, because I think they got carried away with like the ball turning and bouncing. How many balls hit the stump? Let's be honest, everyone says when the ball's moving, it's all about hitting the stumps. Axar Patel's clever. He bowls quick with the arm, flatter trajectory, goes with the arm, hitting the stumps. He starts off with turning 2 or 3. He turns them big, 2 or 3, just to create that doubt. Wow, the wicket's turning. And then he just goes with the arm most all the balls, and then he gets the odd one to turn, not just enough, not too much. We don't want it to turn too much because it's easy to leave. And that's the applying, that's the application that we call, when a spinner has to assess his own conditions. Don't get carried away with the turn. Understand that it's about just getting the edge, beating the bat, the non-turner, which I think Jack Leach is still learning, which, obviously the Indian team and the management know that they don't really have the skills like the Indian spinners have. But then what it does, if everyone knows, right, England got exposed in the last test match, but the previous test match on flat pitches, yeah, they're in the game. Now, the question is would you like to see India win 3-1 and have the next 2 test matches win in 3.5 days? Or would you like to see India win the test matches, but it's 5-day test cricket? It's a yes or a no. It's not that hard, guys. Either you like 3-day test cricket or you like 5 days.
So best case scenario is us winning on the 5th day last session. But you know what? If you ask me, I just want to win the test series. No,
fine. I'm sure Indian fans want to win the test series, right? It's you can win in 2.5 days or you win in 5 days. I did a survey on my Twitter, and I said, which was the most satisfying win for the Indian fans? Was it a Chennai? Was it the Sydney draw?
No
Was it
comparison.
at the Gabba? Everyone said at the Gabba over 70%. So to me, it shows that when you play a 5-day test match and then you win on the 5th day, you have 2 days of where it's just absorbing pressure, the game's just flowing, and it's, and then it's that 5th day, like which sport has 5th-day test matches where then, everyone just sees the result dramatically change and it's like, wow, what an amazing win. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, look, India can win the test series. It's easy. India just needs to produce spinning tracks and they'll win again in 3.5 days and the next one 3.5 days. But is that good for the game or is that good for Indian fans?
That's a fair point, Monty. I would just add that, and personally, if you ask me, I would say I'd rather we have pitches that start to break up a little bit earlier than the first test, but not from day one. Having said that, we've seen in England where it's just the reverse, where the first 2 days when India comes out, it's a green track, they can't get back to ball, and then on the second day, they're all out, and England then piles up 500 runs. So we've seen it on both sides of both sides of it.
I think
so you're saying we want India to win, we just don't want the ball to turn on the first day.
We don't want it to be completely flat for the first 3 days, and then then the result can be only one team. That's what I mean.
Yeah. There are obviously different realms of how people see it as well, as you mentioned there, from your poll as well. A lot of people would have rather wanted maybe the test match to last a little longer, but at the end of the day, I think it seems like obviously winning the test match obviously is very important, because having obviously already lost in Chennai. But as I said, I mean, it's just a lot of people have a lot of opinions. George Abel as well in his article said, why were England expecting anything else? Something like what Sai said. Similar things happen when teams from some continent, go to say England or Australia sometimes, or for example South Africa. So it's a topic that we can keep talking about.
No, but my point is this. Is this India team good enough? Have they got the ability to say, all right, guys, now we're going to show the world in the next test match, we're going to produce a flat track and we're going to beat England and we're going to do it in 5 days. And we're going to show all you guys, you know what? Everyone's having a go at us about spinning tracks. We're going to take a step further. We're going to produce a flat one now and we're going to win. Now, how is that? How good is that going to be for the Indian fans? They're going to go crazy.
Hope that happens in Ahmedabad.
Look how good Hindustan is. Arey Jai Hind, hamari team to flat track mein bhi jeet sakti hai, turning mein bhi.
Yeah, I hope something like that happens in Ahmedabad now. So we have a slightly flatter track and have a 5-day test and see, who comes out victorious. Overall, to see a great game of cricket. But coming back to the track about the current, the test match that just concluded. Now, being, for example, I would call a stalwart of the left arm spin. What did you make out of whatever you saw of Axar Patel and Kuldeep, although Kuldeep didn't get to bowl as much in the first innings? But overall, what was your impression? You talked about people applying better, but can you talk us a little more about what your impression was? How did they do? Is there anything better that can be done overall?
Look, it was a perfect test match for India. Let's be honest. Perfect. It got to a point where even Kuldeep Yadav had a bowl, and he ended up getting a few wickets, which would be great for his confidence. And then you've got Axar Patel, who I think is a clever bowler. He can turn the big balls, and then he just wants to turn it just enough. He bowls a flatter trajectory. He sometimes can loop it. If anything, I think one area is his batting. Can he bat as well as Jadeja? If India are in a slightly, let's say, difficult position, can they just get him out of that hole where suddenly he can be a healthy competition to Ravindra Jadeja? Because at the moment, he's just filling in until he gets fit. And then it's just like, oh yeah, he's back in. But suddenly, this is a great opportunity for Axar. He's going to think, yeah, I'm going to perform well with the ball. I'm going to perform well with the bat. And then let me...
Yeah, talking then about, we just want to maybe move a little away from the spinners. We want to also talk about, for example, the batting. England, I think overall in these two test matches, especially the top three, Rory Burns, Sibley, and Dan Lawrence, have not had so much of an impact, for example, as they would have liked. But at the same time, what we have seen is that Joe Root has been actually an anchor of the whole batting. And that then puts us into a situation where we tend to ask ourselves, is the English batting a little too much dependent on Joe Root's success? In Sri Lanka as well, he had a 200, 186, and obviously overall the English were able to, for example, put up great totals. In the first test also, this thing happened, and England did pretty well. So how do you, as somebody who knows English cricket a lot better, sees this kind of a situation with Joe Root being at the center of the batting and so much dependency on him?
Yeah, look, there's been a huge dependency on him, and it's because he plays spin very much like a subcontinent batsman. He gets his stride out forward, he goes back, he plays the sweep shot. If it's a good length ball, he gets out. And you look at the other younger batsmen, that they're half moving their feet, half going back. And that's how we're taught. In England, the ball doesn't turn, as sharply, and sometimes a bit more pace on the wicket. So the ball doesn't sit into the pitch as much. And then suddenly what happens is you don't have to move your feet. You don't have to go right back because it skids on. While in India, you've got time. Even if it's full, you can go right back because there's not much pace in the wicket as it is in England. Mm-hmm. So by the time you go right back, you're going to get bowled in England because there's more pace on the wicket, skids on quicker. And even off the front foot, you can play half, just have a half of a front foot and play with your hands. So that's how we're taught in England to play spin because of the conditions. So then suddenly we're faced against, subcontinent pitches where the wickets are slower. The ball sits into the pitch a little bit longer, so it allows to turn and bite. So you have to get a big stride out forward, have to go back, have to play the sweep shot. And the younger batsmen, they're still developing and learning, and it's difficult to adapt to a game so quickly to actually, and Ashwin's, he's clever. He knows when he's bowling to the Indian batsman in the nets and training, he's like, oh, my good delivery. Look how Virat Kohli's playing it. Look how these, but when I bowl to the English batsman, it's turning and bouncing because the stride isn't as forward. For a spinner, it's all about getting the ball to bounce and the distance to where the front foot lands of a batsman and the ball, the greater that distance, by the time the ball comes to the bat, you've got a chance for a huge turn, and that's why you see Virat Kohli gets a massive stride out forward to Jack Leach because he negates that distance, and therefore it's difficult for then Jack Leach to turn the ball and beat him. So then it's the skill of getting the ball higher trajectory, getting more dip on the ball, changing seam positions, changing your sort of angles, degree of turn, which Ashwin does brilliantly. And that's, English spinners don't do that because in England, you don't have to do that. In England, the way the guy people bat, no one really comes out at the ball. So you don't get challenged with the shape of your delivery. You can actually just bowl 6 balls in one area with not great shape, and you'll end up getting a wicket. Because Jack Leach, let's be honest, he bowls on these turning pitches in Somerset. This is the way he bowls. English batters don't really come at the ball, or they don't go really back, half measures, and then eventually he gets a wicket because he just bowls the ball in the same area. But in India, it doesn't work like that. Pitches are slower. You've got to be a bit more clever. He didn't even bowl many arm balls. He didn't use the different positions at the crease, same position, repeatable action. He's not like, halfway through the over, stopping the game, going to Joe Root, take time out of the game, break the rhythm. Break the rhythm of the batsman. Go over the wicket, bowl a few balls, let him kick a few balls. What about Joe Root? Why didn't he just say, right, let's go over the wicket to Virat Kohli, frustrate him because he likes playing shots. Rohit Sharma's a great example. He likes playing his shots. He was on 90 of like 118 balls. He scores like it's a one-day game. get him to stop the scoring, break his rhythm, change the rhythm of his batting, his tempo. And they're not doing any of that. And therefore you can just see how, they are taking wickets, but they're giving too many runs away on that pitch.
Right. So moving then away from Joe Root's performance, but there was one other name, for example, Indian fans, of course, and the Indian players as well planned a lot for, which was Ben Stokes. His batting as well, having had the experience of playing in subcontinent, and obviously having had a little more knowledge and application as, for example, Rory Burns or Sibley would have. What do you make out of that? Even he had not had any success in the 2 tests that, for example, England played.
Yeah, because I think it's, you can see how, he sets Rory Burns up. He gives him these easy balls to middle the bat. He gets on the stride, and suddenly you can see, the way he got him out. He's playing into the mid wicket because it's Ashwin's astute, intelligent bowling. He deceives the batsman by making him think the ball's not turning much now. It's newer ball not turning much, and then he bowls slightly wider, bowls a higher trajectory, gets the ball to drift a bit more, and that one's going to bite a bit more. And he gets him to play towards mid wicket when he doesn't need to play towards mid wicket. The angle of his bat's supposed to be going towards cover and mid on. And he deceives them to play towards mid on. And then he gets the edge, and I think Ashwin is too smart, he's a very smart bowler. Yeah. So, if they can somehow just work out how Ashwin is bowling, then I'm sure they got a chance. But he's a very clever bowler, and it's brilliant to watch.
Interesting. So one other thought I wanted to pick your brain on was the umpiring in these 2 tests. What do you make out of that? I mean, a lot has been said about, for example, having neutral umpires. In these 2 tests, you've seen, umpiring being done by local umpires. Do you have any, observations? Do we actually need neutral umpires in the forthcoming series? That we always talk about having neutral umpires. Is there actually a need?
Look, umpires are allowed to have a bad game. They're human after all. And I think with umpires, humans make error. They're not machines, So with the umpires, they're going to get a few wrong. The crowds are coming back first time. Give them a chance. Like they've umpired in a few games where they haven't had crowds, so they can probably hear everything a bit better. They can, everything's a bit more clearer now. The crowds come back. It takes time to adjust to that, and yeah, they got a couple of decisions wrong. They made some good ones. They got it wrong. They put their hand up and they gave the review back. Joe Root, for example, yeah, maybe he was out. It wasn't out. But look, we need umpires. We can't just we need that human element. It's the excitement of the game. And if they keep making these consistent sort of, let's say, errors in the next test match, then it's something to think, well, are these the right umpires? Do we need neutral umpires? That's something that, we can discuss further. But because it's first time round and the crowds are back, okay, we can give them another chance, guys. Don't be so harsh on them.
Interesting. I think interesting point over there. So moving forward, Monty, drawing from your experience from 2012, what do you think England needs to do to win the Test series from here?
Well, firstly, I think don't have this half foot movement against the spinners. Either you go right forward, you play the sweep shot, you come down the wicket, or you go right back. You've got to be proactive. That has to change. The other thing is the spinners are going to bowl with variation. They're going to get used to the stock ball, start varying it a little bit. And I think the factor of Jimmy Anderson, Stuart Broad, the next test match, they both got to play. This is a must-win game for England. And this could be their chance where they can win it through some amazing seam bowling. It's the first time they're playing at this ground. And I don't think there'll be a blade of grass on that wicket. I think it's going to be another turner. They need to, he's going to, Virat Kohli and thing, they're going to play to their strengths, even though I'm trying to advocate a 5-day cricket, I think it'll be another turning wicket. So, it's again, it's going to be the wicket's they're going to design the wicket so the movement is difficult. It's difficult to reverse the ball and difficult to get that movement off the pitch from Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad. That's their danger, not the spinners. And if they can get that pink ball to move more than, let's say, expected, it could surprise everyone. That could be the surprising factor, I think, Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad. And if Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad are not playing the next Test match, I can't believe, why, pink ball, the last session could be that session where they can pick up a few wickets. So I don't know. There's so much things to just think about, because there could be the dew factor in India. This is not England after all. That if we play day and night cricket here, it's like wickets will tumble in the last session. So in India, I don't know. It depends on the conditions there. It depends on training. When they train with the pink ball, does it move as much, or is it just no movement at all? So very much depends on what kind of movement that pink ball does. No one knows at the moment. No one knows what the pitch is going to play like.
That's true. But what I'm sensing over here, Monty, is we and from our perspective as well, because the last time we played a pink ball test, we were unmentionable 36, right? And listening to you, do you think England going into the pink test is the favourites for it?
So many factors for that. Like I said, if the ball can swing, then they are favourites, right? If the ball is seaming a little bit, yeah, England are favourites. If that ball isn't swinging, and then I think India are favourites. Very simple.
You mentioned Jimmy and Broad playing in the same test together. That brings us back to this rotation policy that England has been following. Has this seriously impacted their chances of winning this test match? And in your opinion, what should be the best England 11, assuming you didn't have all this rotation? Who are we missing here right now in this 11?
Well, you look at Joe Root not utilising Stuart Broad in the second innings. He didn't give him the new ball straight away, and I think he should have done. I think Ashwin would have got 100. He created a couple of chances, he got dropped, and then Ashwin ended up, getting some runs. So you kind of ask the question, is Stuart Broad really being utilised, as well as he should be? And how well is he bowling under these conditions, So again, there'll be so much to decide upon that. Jimmy Anderson obviously will come back in 100% because he's bowled really well. And I'm sure with the way the rotation policy goes, I think Stuart Broad will probably, be rested again. And then Jeffrey Archer, I think, will come in with that extra pace. Chris Wokes could come back in, fresh bowler. He could open the bowling with, Jimmy Anderson, or it could be that third seamer. And then you've got Jack Leach and Don Bess, I think that could be the team. Because it's important, both Stuart Broad and Jimmy Anderson, they're the greats of the game, and they're probably trying to prolong their career as long as they can. So if they rotate each other, then that allows, them to play as many test matches. And also it gets the other bowlers, once they retire, the gap between Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad isn't as big, because then they've got other younger bowlers coming through. So, we've seen in Sri Lanka when Jayawarde and Sangakkara retired, like there was a huge gap in Sri Lankan cricket. And that's the danger of English cricket. So I think England are being sensible in terms of, rotating both of the greats of the game.
Interesting. So then, moving a little on to, the England's lineup in the last test. Moeen Ali played, the last test, obviously. He's going back now for the next two tests. What did you make out of his performance in the second test? And the decision to go back, do you think it will impact England going forward in the coming two tests in Ahmedabad?
Well, I think Moeen Ali was already kind of promised to go. I think that's kind of the news we're hearing. I think he's already, the question was after this test match, he was going to go home. But I think the England management will thought, well, he's bowling well. Can he actually do us a favour and actually play maybe one more test? And it's difficult for him. He's got a young family. He was in Sri Lanka. He had the COVID, and he's been away for such a long time. And when you have young children and young family, and then he's got the IPL to consider, assuming that tomorrow he will get picked up. Imagine he doesn't get picked up. That'll be a bit of a disappointing news, which we don't want. I'm sure he will, because he played an amazing. I think he was trying to like. Audition. It's an interesting one. It's interesting. Some people are saying that was a farewell innings in Test cricket for him. Do you know what I mean? Where he's thinking, I'm hitting a few sixes and, that's it. Others are saying that was actually, she's trying to, get another couple of more crores on his 2 crore base price by hitting, remind everyone this is how good I am. So the timing couldn't have been perfect. But I guess, all the IPL players, Ben Stokes, Jofra Archer, Joss Buttler, Johnny Bairstow, they've had their rest and and then I think that's what Moeen Ali wants, a couple of weeks away, and then he comes back and plays IPL cricket. And then he's going to be a big part of the T20 World Cup. So again, it just depends on his hunger and his desire. He's 33. He's probably thinking, young family, do I really want to, commit? I played over 60 test matches. Do I want to play more test cricket, or do I want to, earn more money in T20 and I can see my family? That's up to him to decide. Again, it's up to him, and also these younger spinners, we know if the younger spinners grab the opportunity, then, they'll probably think that maybe Moeen Ali's probably thinking, I'm probably, you've got more of a chance of earning, more money being a T20 cricketer, because they obviously dropped him from, central contract. So he kind of feels that actually I can earn more money being a T20 cricketer and I can see my family, and that's probably better now because I'm 33.
To add to that, do you see any other English spinners putting up their name? A part of the extended squad. You have Parkinson, I guess, and Amir Virdi. Any chance of one of these guys putting their hands up and playing a part in this series?
Yeah, it'd be great to see some of these youngsters come through. Amir Virdi is a good bowler at Surrey. We've got Matt Parkins, who's a good leggy. It depends on Don Bess again, and it depends on this England management. What they want to do. Do they want to give the youngsters a go and see what they like in the Test series? So it really just, I think, it's this rotation policy, brings up so many permutations. Like you don't really know, right, what Team England are going to bring out, next Test match. So you just have to wait and see. But I think the well-being of players, since we've had these sort of couple of mental health issues with players, I think that's really important, and if it's at the expense of not playing the strongest side, but the well-being is good, that people are well and mentally, not affecting them, the bubble, then yeah, then I'm sure, they have to, play the best team that's available.
Yeah, and talking about young spinners, Monty, we saw Dom Bess in the first Test match. Did well in the first innings, but probably not so good in the second innings. Was it a little too harsh dropping him in the second Test? And I mean, what do you make it of? What do you make of him?
Yeah, look, I think he's a good cricketer. Like he can bat well. He'd probably go in the nets and try and find his consistency if he can. So that's something he'll try and do. So I think these are the sort of, it's the question is, like, will they go with Amir Virdi, to give him a debut, or would they go with Don Bess, pink sort of test sports? It's a bit risky, in it, giving a young spinner a debut with the pink ball. You probably go with someone who's already played a bit of Test cricket, and because you look at young spinners, Mason Crane, he played in Sydney, young spinner, he did okay, but then the management, you don't want this to happen. You play one Test and it's not a great experience. So as a cricketer, you want to be playing when you're in good shape, and also, like, international cricket is is you're ready for it as well.
We've focused a bit on the bowlers for England. How about the batting? I think the big benefit to England in the third Test will be the return of Johnny Bairstow. He's been in pretty good form even in Sri Lanka, and I'm sure he's keen to kind of find his footing again, or his place in the Test side, which he seems to have lost out on for the past couple of years. Apart from that, the top three for England, there could be more changes. Zach Crawley's also fit. So what kind of changes do you expect to the batting lineup for this next Test?
Yeah, look, I expect Zach Crawley to come back. I expect Johnny Bairstow probably to come back as well. Possibly Ollie Pope and Dan Lawrence, kind of have to miss out because they haven't really, shown what they're capable of doing and how well they are. So from my point of view, I think that that's probably what happened, and I'm sure Dom Bess and Jack Leach will probably come back as well, and then they'll probably either play Chris Wokes and Jimmy Anderson, Jeffrey Archer. Like, it seems like I know the team already.
Sure. And with IPL auction around the corner, Monty, whom do you think is going to be the biggest buy tomorrow?
Well, I think it'd be interesting to see, like, will Moeen Ali go back to RCB? Impressing Virat Kohli. What about Harbhajan Singh? He's a experienced campaigner. Could he be a bidding war for him? Steve Smith, brilliant batsman. I'm sure his services will be. He just scored a great 100 for his state team in the one-day match in New South Wales. Then we've got Glenn Maxwell. There's another possibility. Which team would want his services, because I think he'll get a buy somewhere. So there's a few players there which I think David Malan is another. I think number one batsman in the world. He'll probably get. Someone will definitely buy him. He'll be a good buy. And where would he go? He could go to RCB, for example. Take the pressure off the batting. In that aspect. Or may join Owen Morgan. At Kolkata Knight Riders. So look, it's exciting. It's exciting. We're all looking forward to it tomorrow.
You have a favorite team? Any horse in the race for you?
Well, my favorite team, gosh, I think I just tend to follow MS Dhoni, to be honest. Whichever team MS Dhoni is, I think that's the team I follow. So, or Harbhajan as well, because he's an off spinner. He's got a buttercup like me, and whichever team he'll play, I'll probably try and follow that as well. Owen Morgan, I'll obviously follow the English players. Rajasthan Royals, Ben Stokes. I love watching him bat. Josh Butler as well. David Malan's a great friend of mine. If he's in one of them teams, I'll follow probably that team as well. Andy Flowers, is my coach, so I follow Punjab Kings. It's like, I think somewhere every team I've got a connection, right? I don't have a particular side I follow. I probably players and certain coaches I always look out for.
So if you were asked to choose a team to play for, what will you choose? Fleming on one side, Dhoni on one side, and so on.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll probably I think Mumbai Indians. That'd be quite good, wouldn't it? But they've already got a left arm spinner. They've already got a left arm spinner. So the Pandya brothers. So there's no space there for me. Maybe Rajasthan Royals, but then I can't play because they've already got the overseas players. I think it probably have to be like either Hyderabad Sunrisers.
They have Rashid Khan.
Rashid Khan. There's no space for me, is there?
I think Chennai then would be a very good.
Well, they got Raviyash Jadeja.
Yeah, but they don't have a foreign spinner.
Yeah, that's true. Imran Tahir.
Yeah, he hardly played. I don't think he got a game also last time.
Yeah. Well, maybe Chennai. Dhoni's probably they qualified for the semi-finals. They go on then. Monty gal tiyar rehna, aapko hum khilayenge.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Speaking of IPL, and I believe the English team has a couple of tests which they've recently scheduled, right, probably towards the end of the IPL. Do you feel that this is the right thing England's doing, where they're to some extent prioritizing the IPL within the schedule, even more so over some international cricket?
The problem with the IPL is such a huge attraction worldwide, and it's a great, generates so much money that I think the ICC and everyone knows that IPL takes priority over international games because of the huge attraction and the success of the tournament, and everyone I think loves playing in the IPL. So yeah, it's good for the game, and the BCCI do a great job. So yes, it's good to see.
I really like your candidness, Monty, because a lot of even English journalists, they would avoid using the word people playing IPL. They tend to use all format cricketers. They have to take rests, rather than saying they have to play IPL. I mean, it's really refreshing to see somebody actually address it the way it I think should be.
Yeah, look, absolutely. It's like like they say, it's a market attraction and it's brilliant. And, do whatever you want to do, man, as long as you watch the IPL.
Perfect. Okay.
So you said Smith, but between Smith and Finch, if you were the owner of a team, who would you buy?
Well, I'll probably go for Smith because he's a great player, good leader, and he's one of the best batsmen, isn't he? So yeah, definitely go for Smith.
Just to, since we're talking about IPL, just take it one step further and look at the 100, which is the upcoming tournament this summer in England. And for some, we haven't been part of much of the buzz yet because of the fact that it's been delayed. But for Indian fans, it seems a little bit funny that you recreate a format and then you change the number of balls in an over and all just to add up to 100. What do you think? Is it going to be gimmicky or is it going to be something that is going to excite the fan base in England?
Well, I'll put it this way. The Indian fans will be tuning in. The owners will be, IPL owners will be watching because the 100-100. It's not a monopoly just for the one, strongest franchise. It's like saying, well, if we'll produce a 100 tournament. It's about creating that market, creating a bigger, fan base. And if it's a success, it's a threat. Yeah, the 100-100 tournament is a genuine threat to the IPL. Because if it's a success, suddenly sponsors will be thinking, we getting the same exposure, we don't have to pay as much, have to pay the market rate for your IPL, right? Or we get the market attraction similar, we're paying less money as a company for sponsorship deals. Suddenly you can see there's a shift, broadcast rights are going to be a lot cheaper than the IPL. And if it's a success, then there'll be other people coming in. So can you see how it's going to be a direct competition? You look at the Premier League, for example. We had Amazon Prime to bid for some games during Christmas. Now we've got BT Sport for the Champions League. Then some of the Sky Sport, it starts to divide. And I think the 100-100 is a direct competition for the IPL. And I'm sure Indian fans will be watching very closely. If it's a success, who knows?
But then where will the millions come from then for the players?
Sorry?
Where will the millions come from for the players then?
Well, the millions will come gradually, isn't it? Because if a company is sponsoring, right, the same television space or same viewing time that they're getting and the same time they're getting with the IPL, but it's a lot cheaper, then where are you going to go? I'm getting the same, the same sort of exposure, but it's a lot cheaper on the 100-100. Yeah. Suddenly, the more money will get shifted into the 100-100. If it's a success and if it's a gimmick, I'm sure all the Indian fans will say, we told you so. You cannot compete with the IPL. You guys are the first to let us know how great Indian cricket is, how good we are,
what we did.
To be fair, we should credit Indian fans. We are early adopters to some extent, even if our board doesn't adopt a format. I remember in the early 2000s watching Final Day in England when T20 was a novelty and a new format. So yeah, the fans at least are early adopters, whether or not the game comes to India.
I don't know if it'll come to India, right? Because then it would dilute IPL. And one of the strengths of the IPL is the Indian players. You won't see the likes of Dhoni playing anywhere. You don't see the likes of Harbhajan Singh playing anywhere, or you won't see the likes of Virat Kohli, Ashwin, or any of these greats. You won't see any of them playing anywhere else apart from Indian cricket. That's their franchise. That's their base. So I can't see the 100-100 coming into India. But if the 100-100 is a success, sure will go into other areas, maybe America, for example. And that could be interesting.
Sure. And with that, the last question of this, Monty, what do you think is going to happen in the next two tests?
Well, if it's a spinning track, it's going to finish in 3.5 days. India win. Then we go on to the fourth one. Another spinning track, spins from day one. India win again. Probably, England batted a little bit better. So it goes into the fourth day. And then India win the Test Series 3-1.
But is that what you believe as well?
Well, it depends up to Virat Kohli and Ravi Shastri. If they genuinely think that, guys, come on, we can beat them on spinning tracks. wouldn't it be satisfying to beat it? If we want to beat England, let's do it on a flat pitch. Let's make it a bit more easier. That's up to them, you know. They're the home nation. They dictate the conditions. But if I was them, I would try and produce a flat track because I think it would be much more satisfying. And who knows, it gives us England fans just a slight chance to beat India.
Thanks, Monty. That we look forward to what happens in the next two tests, and we look forward to those spinning tracks England will welcome us with when we come touring this summer.
Oh, don't you worry about that. I will be the first one to tell the groundsman, make sure you don't cut the grass. I'll tell him from May, you're not cutting the grass on this wicket. And when India turn up, they need to see that. Are we playing on an outfield? Absolutely. And I want the game to finish in 3 days in England as well.
This is all great fun, Monty. I mean, all in
Great
good fun.
Monty.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
And also, I want to say, do whatever you want to do, man, but don't corona to your mom and dad.
Good advice always. Thanks, sir. Thanks a lot.
It was great to talk with you, and it's all very, all in good fun. Thanks a lot for all your fun, for your views.
All right, cheers.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for all the time today, and we'll speak with you again soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I check it like you read sing spelling it, yeah? I really don't mind.
You hit me once, I hit you back.
He's bowling like my Auntie Annie when she'd had too much sherry to drink.
Played over my head, then I set fire.
मैंने कहा बेटा बेटा होता है और बाप बाप होता है.